just made a temporary fix to try and stop the birds getting in the greenhouse, because I've now had some sparrows in there, a pigeon, and then just now a little wren. I've managed to capture the smaller birds and get them out. The pigeon was a bit of a challenge. This is not ideal, but I'm going to have to make, I think, a screen type door like the Americans have on their doors in the summer, with some proper netting and a wooden frame. But that'll have to do for now. Hopefully they won't go in there. Oh, I've come out to harvest some of these broad beans. There's some beauties on here. Those so far. Oh, it's very muggy. Hot and bothered. Just picked these. I'm going to go and weigh them, and then I'm going to shuck them, and I'm going to have to freeze them because I've got to go to work, and I'm certainly not going to eat that amount in one go. There's still a lot on there. A little bit small. I'll let them get a bit bigger. Probably end up picking them tomorrow or the day after. Morning everyone. I've brought you into my kitchen because, as you've just seen, I've picked loads of broad beans. So this is what I've just picked. I have to make a confession though. When I was picking them, I was still in my pyjamas, so I've got myself dressed because I thought that would be a bit more appropriate. But that's one of the blessings of having your allotment at home. You can get up in the morning and just start pottering. You don't even have to get dressed, unless you're filming. So yeah, I'm dressed now. Okay, so the reason I've brought you in the kitchen is to show you what I'm going to do with all these broad beans. And you can do this with any veg, particularly when you have a glut, because if you just put an amount like this in the fridge, they're going to start to perish immediately because you've taken them from the plant. They're not going to get any goodness. They're going to start drying out. They'll go very limp, and they won't be at their best. And blanching, what that means, if you haven't done it yourself in the past, or if you don't know what it means, is you plunge them into boiling water for just a couple of minutes, and that way it kills off the enzyme process that breaks down the plant or the vegetable, and it preserves the flavour, the colour, and also the texture and the vitamin content. So you plunge them in boiling water for a couple of minutes, take them out, then you plunge them into an ice bath, which I'll show you in a minute because I've got everything laid out. Dry them off and then bag them up and get them in the freezer as quick as possible. So let me show you what I've got ready. So I've got a large pan which I will fill with boiling water, and obviously I've got my broad beans which I'm going to shell in a minute. I've got a colander which, when I take them out of the boiling water, I should collect them in these, and then in the sink I've got a bowl of cold water. I shall plunge them in that. That stops the cooking process, and then I will take them out and drain them, pat them dry on some towels, and then I will bag them up like this and put them in the freezer. So let me start by shelling these. Okay, so I've started shelling them, and this is what I've got. I'll show you another one. But I think one of the beauties of growing at home or on your allotment is, unlike in the supermarkets, one of the trademarks of growing your own is that you don't get uniform sized beans. They'll be all different sizes. Same with your carrots and any other vegetable. You get wonky ones, crooked, some short, some long, and I just think it adds to the charm. it's just a falsehood to imagine that every vegetable of its own type is exactly the same. They're as individual as you and I. So look, if you look at these, I've got some tiny ones and some larger ones, and I dare say there's going to be a couple in here that'll be whoppers, but it's not a problem for me. That's nature. So I'm going to crack on with these and I'll come back when they're finished. Something I've just been reminded of that I thought I'd mention to you. Unlike peas and carrots, I'm trying to think of other vegetables really, beans, you have to be careful. When you're doing something like this, you might be tempted to pop a few in your mouth. They're lovely and sweet, they're beautiful, but they do have a mild toxin, and if you're adverse to that, they can make you quite sick. That's why we cook our beans. You don't really have them raw. And I made the mistake one year when I was doing a job exactly like this. Every now and again I'd pop one in my mouth, and I hadn't even finished shucking them all when I had to run to the bathroom and I was violently sick. And then I realised the reason for it. So some people it doesn't affect. Unfortunately, I'm one that does, and obviously it can upset some people's stomachs. So just be a little bit mindful of that. I've now shelled all of those beans. I've kept all the pods, so they're all going to go in the compost bin, so there's no waste. I'm going to weigh these now, so let's see how much we've got. 9.9 ounces. Oh, that's not bad. So I'm now going to put these in the boiling water. So I'm going to leave that for 2 minutes, and like I said before, that will preserve the colour, the flavour and the vitamins, and it will kill off the enzymes that break down the vegetables. Okay. Plunging them in the cold water. So I've just laid out a clean towel and spread the beans on there. We'll put another clean towel on the top and try and get them as dry as I can. And then I'm going to bag them up. So what I do now is I'll put them on a tray and I'll put them in the freezer, and when they're frozen then I can shake the bag up, and then they won't all be stuck together like one big clump. Right, we're in the last couple of days of May. It's been absolutely beautiful, and I've got to go to work in just over an hour, so I thought I'd do a quick tour around the garden to show you the progress that has been made in just a couple of weeks. So the first thing that's quite noticeable is the runner beans. They are really romping away. This one's as tall as I am now. First peas coming, so I'm really chuffed about that. And the second row that I planted are starting to flower. The onions are starting to flop over now, which is an indication they're ready to be pulled up. But a little bit disappointing this year. They're not very big. I think we had a very, very wet winter but an incredibly dry spring, and I've got a patch in the middle where Mr. Paddy would sit when they were first sown. I thought they'd recover, but they clearly haven't. Garlic's looking okay, looking healthy. strawberries are coming along nicely. The apples. Quite excited about this. There's a lot of fruit. So my loganberries are absolutely covered with fruit. So it's obviously like the weather conditions this year. So much so that I've got a huge amount of new growth. Now I need to keep some of the new growth because that's where the fruit will come next year, but I've got too much new growth. It's pushing out the netting, and I've got, oh dear, the bird's been quite happy on that one. It's pushing out the netting, so I need to find a way of securing some of that and trimming it a bit. And it's pushing its way out the top as well. But there's two plants, one on the fence and one in front, and it's all covered. First strawberries, but it looks like someone's got there before me. More here and here. It looks like Paddy's been gardening as well. He's planted his bunny. So when I planted the courgettes, they did go into a bit of shock, but they're recovering, they're greening up, and if you can look closely, there are flowers coming, and on this one too. And this one's first flower's actually opening up. Someone's enjoying the sun. Potatoes and sweet corn. Oh, looking really good. Seeing the netting. The sprouting broccoli. I avoided that this morning. There was a few volunteer spuds in there, but they're gone now. Kale. Potatoes look fantastic, except for one plant. Don't really like the look of that. It may be that a bird sat on there or something, because I think it's broken the stem. But what I have noticed this morning, I've got my first flowers, so that's quite exciting. My salad bar's doing good. Coriander, strawberries, Lola Rosso, more strawberries, and the mixed salad leaf down the bottom. More salad in the buckets, and a furry friend. This is my rambling rector. The fragrance is absolutely beautiful, and they're like little jewels against the blue sky. It looks stunning this morning. Below it's the Rosamundi. I've got my very first tomato coming. Oh, I'm so thrilled. Lots of flowers. Peppers have got flowers as well, so that's really, really good. I'm thrilled about that as well. Wait a minute. Just gotta wait. I'm just about to leave the house. Paddy sussed that one out, and now he's sitting in the part of the garden I can't get to. Bribery is about to take place.